The Irish Independent front page says Enterprise Minister Peter Burke will not intervene and invoke industrial relations legislation to force Aer Lingus and unions back into negotiations. The Irish Times leads with the headline "Strike Action Called" as pilots raise stakes in Aer Lingus pay battle. The Irish Times says Aer Lingus has now cancelled 124 flights from next Wednesday to contain the impact of a strict and open-ended work rule that the Irish Airline Pilots Association has announced. And that is where we start the programme this morning. Eoghan Corry, editor of Travel Extra, thank you for joining us. We had the announcement yesterday of this 8th-hour strike. What's the advice now to passengers this morning, particularly those who are meant to be travelling next Saturday morning?
Good morning, Anya. Well, the advice is unchanged, even though we've had quite a dramatic series of events over the last 12, 14 hours. The advice really is don't panic. It's the airline's job to get you from where you are to where you go. Contract with the airline is not affected by any of the megaphone stuff we hear between the trade union and the airline. And as things escalate, which they might a little bit further, as we creep in over the weekend, tenderly over the weekend and into the coming days, that remains the same. You know, you have a contract with Aer Lingus, they get you to where you are. If they have to move the flight, so be it, but you can actually start making requests if you have a particularly urgent situation.
So if you're flying next Saturday morning, as you say, obligation on Aer Lingus, but you could still be late by hours, maybe even up to a day to get there. And presumably the afternoon flights, we could see an impact, knock-on impact really there as well next Saturday afternoon.
This is really what the whole dispute is turning into. Uncertainty, heaped on uncertainty. You could end up, we don't know what Aer Lingus's plans are. They cancelled 124 flights and moved a lot of passengers. And the scale of that is only emerging this morning. The people that were supposed to be flying at the weekend being moved to Wednesday. Some people a little bit unhappy, and the routes that were affected were published there on my website and on several other websites this morning, so you can actually find the flights. But the real contact is customer from the airline. They have the technology to do that now, emails, texts, everything flying out to tell people this is your rebooking option. And they're actually inviting people to manage their own booking, make their choices, push their flight to another time, take one of the vouchers, which they last for 5 years. The voucher system that really got rolled out during the pandemic is being rolled out again. And but your rights are not affected by Aer Lingus's proposal. They had a contract to bring you to where you're supposed to go. What we will probably see is Aer Lingus. We don't know, are they going to bring in crew and aircraft from other airlines? They are saying that they have that option. Aer Lingus is part of a wider group, so you could have British Airways Iberia moving in to pick up the flights. They also have offers from other airlines. But they also have said something interesting, Anya, that if you rebook and the price is more, which can tend to happen because you're now rebooking in June for something you probably booked last January and February, they will reimburse the excess. That applies to Aer Lingus flights. I think we could run into a situation where people will start claiming having booked an arrival airline for the money back on that. That will be something that could end up in the courts.
It's a massive data gathering exercise. It's a massive exercise, as you say, in finding those alternative airlines and planes and crew. And you talked there about this information gathering exercise that has started to happen. And we see in the newspapers this morning stories of just so many wedding parties planning to go abroad for June, July and August. What do you say to them as they kind of game out all of the scenarios here? Maybe some people starting to think about booking alternative flights.
Look at the airline, go back to the airline and say this is the situation. We've 4,500 probably Irish people get married abroad during a year. A lot of them go to Italy and Spain. They're quite popular destinations. We don't have a hell of a lot of those wedding flights affected from the popular wedding destination flights affected from what I can see. But there's all the pressure will come on Aer Lingus's customer services, as people come back and say, you've put me on another flight, but this isn't good enough. I need to be at a particular place at a particular time. If you fail to make that particular place in the particular time, the way your rights have evolved, you're not really in a strong position to go back to the airline to be reimbursed. But if you have flight disruption insurance, it's something I've recommended every time I've got near a microphone for a long, long time. It doesn't come as part of your common or garden travel insurance for the year. It costs about €8 more. It's not possible to get it now with Aer Lingus. It's like looking for insurance when the river bank is about to burst for you. But it's a very, very convenient thing for the car hire that you missed, the hotel that you missed, all of those things that are not covered by compensation on you.
We know Aer Lingus has staffed up so that they can deal with more calls, and they're trying to scenario plan, they're trying to look around corners and be proactive. But is there still the danger that folks could find themselves in an airport and just dealing with last minute cancellations through this?
Yes, the danger is there. The uncertainty is the trademark of this dispute. And the reason that we don't have an all-out strike with a particular beginning and a middle and an end, and we have a work to rule, is to generate uncertainty. The reason that the 8 hours came in was a response to Aer Lingus's attempt to manage that uncertainty. And the real the choreography of this is that they're not ready to go into talks. IALPA aren't ready to go into talks. They want to push the airline as hard as they can, punish them as much as they can. The airline are trying to see if they can fly through it with the help of their IAG partners. And until both sides have a measure of how much damage they can do or how much they can cope, we won't see them getting into talks. But inevitably, Anya, this has to be solved. There's going to be a solution at the end of it. We all wish it would start today or tomorrow rather than waiting till the end of this the cat and mouse game we're going to see over the next few days.
Do you think it's ultimately negative brand management for Aer Lingus in the medium to long term, even the short term? How do you think it will play out for the airline?
Funny thing about aviation, this happens all the time. Weather events cause massive cancellations. April the 25th, the French Air Traffic Control caused the cancellation of 36 strikes, which is more in a day than any of the dispute cancellations next week. 300 flights that day lost by Ryanair. That's more than Aer Lingus fly in a day. Everything gets back to normal. Everyone dusts themselves down. They shake hands. We saw it with Scandinavian SAS 2 years ago and Lufthansa pre-pandemic. We have a strike with mechanics in WestJet at the moment who fly to Dublin. The airport security in Toronto are striking today. The nature of aviation is that the unions have a lot of power. IALPA may be one of the most powerful unions in the country because of their ability to stop flights to and from the country. And they, as the trade union industrial relations system works, you use that power to push for everything you can get. It's nothing personal. And oddly enough, when it's all over, it's as if nothing had happened. There is no real consciousness of Aer Lingus strike action in the United States, where they're reading about lots of industrial action by other airlines. So forward bookings have been affected, but the long-term real damage to Ireland's tourism and to Aer Lingus's brand isn't really apparent at all at the moment. It will only become apparent if we have a prolonged strike, equivalent of what happened in 1978, which wasn't the pilots union, it was another union, when the brand does take a while to recover.
Okay, we'll watch with interest in the coming days. Thank you for that, Eoghan Corry.